was playing games I thought I could see without them, but it won't work. Ladies and gentlemen, it's really an honor and a privilege for me to have this opportunity to make some remarks tonight. And I want to thank Louise Thompson for having me here, but really it was Pam who bugged me day and night. And she got through to my staff because my executive assistant said, well, you're going to do this, aren't you, Representative? I know that usually 2 weeks after session you try to lay low and get a little rest, but you got to do this for Miss Guerin because she is such a nice person. Never met her, but on the phone, she sold my staff, and so, Pam, you got me here. To Mr. Greg Vorder, the community producers, board members, Tampa Hillsborough Cable Advisory Committee, and of course, last but surely not least, the hard-working staff of the Tampa Bay Community Network. I just want to applaud all of you for all that you do. I'm particularly grateful to the Tampa Bay Community Network for providing Hillsborough County residents and nonprofits with the facilities, training, and equipment to express themselves on cable channels 19 and 20. I'm also grateful that citizens and organizations get an opportunity to be rewarded for their efforts, which the Golden Cassette Awards program recognizes. Where else could community producers be acknowledged for their achievements in video production at a time when we seem to be locked in a continual struggle for the freedom of speech and expression that characterize these programs? How quickly we forget what it took to bring us to this place. In the 1780s, after the American Revolutionary War, debate over the adoption of a new constitution resulted in a division between Federalists, such as Alexander Hamilton, who favored a strong federal government, and anti-Federalists such as Thomas Jefferson and Patrick Henry, who favored a weaker federal government. During and after the Constitution ratification process, anti-Federalists and state legislatures expressed concern that the new Constitution placed too much emphasis on the power of the federal government. The drafting and eventual adoption of the Bill of Rights, including the First Amendment, was in large part a result of these concerns, as the Bill of Rights limited the power of the federal government. The First Amendment was ratified on December 15, 1791. The amendment states, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. However, in 1798, Congress, which contained several of the drafters and ratifiers of the Bill of Rights at the time, adopted the Alien and Sedition Act of 1798. This law prohibited the publication of false, scandalous, and malicious writings or writings against the government of the United States. And the Federalists under President John Adams aggressively used that law against their rivals. The act was a major political issue in the 1800 election, and after he was elected president, Thomas Jefferson pardoned those who had been convicted under the act. The act was repealed, and the Supreme Court never ruled on its constitutionality. So from the very beginning, the commitment to free speech was embedded in the controversy between whether we could say whatever we wanted or whether there had to be some limitations, and if so, what those limitations would be. In all of this, some decided it best to use the term freedom of expression, since the right is not confined to verbal speech, but is understood to protect any act of seeking, receiving, and imparting information or ideas, regardless of the medium. Of course, we have come to understand that the right to freedom of speech, of expression, is not absolute in any country. Governments always prohibit certain types of expressions. Any restriction must pursue an aim recognized as legitimate and be necessary, that is, proportionate, for the accomplishment of that aim. Amongst the aims considered legitimate are protection of the rights and reputations of others, prevention of defamation of character, and the protection of national security and public order, health, and morals. The seemingly ironclad language of the First Amendment, Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, is not absolute. We can't, for example, as you know, make a joke at airport security about carrying a bomb. There have been, and there will continue to be exceptions, but only for the most dangerous abuses. So now, why am I talking about the history of free speech and the freedom of expression at the Golden Cassette Awards? Because the Tampa Bay Community Network allows the residents and nonprofits that you provide with the facilities, training, and equipment to express themselves in ways that would not otherwise be possible. No matter how strong the community, no matter how gifted the politicians, no matter how visionary the pastors and prophets of our day, it is difficult for me to fathom a life when the freedom to speak is chilled. When you, the Tampa Bay Community Network, reward members of our community for respecting ideas and discovery, when you give them the opportunity to stand up for our beliefs and the rights of others, when you encourage a commitment to civic engagement and a passion for justice and freedom, all informed by the highest standards of integrity, you have given us an amazing gift. You have given us the gift of free speech, and we have an obligation to use judgment and prudence in how we use that gift. We, as the most powerful political, military, and industrial superpower in the world, and our citizens have the right to participate and engage in public debate as to their ideology. But ideological bullies must be confronted when they seek to impose their beliefs on others, as opposed to allowing others to make their own informed decisions. If we present ourselves to the world as patrons of democracy, then we must be committed to free speech without fear of punishment. The First Amendment to the United States Constitution is almost 215 years old. Yet today, more than 2 centuries after its ratification, we are still struggling to reconcile free speech practices with the theories that justify them and the protection that supposedly assures them. This means that we all have the obligation to respect the rights of others to speak, however offensive or abhorrent we may find their speech, however much the content or manner of their speech may irritate, anger, or outrage us. As U.S. Supreme Court Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes put it, freedom of expression requires tolerance of ideas we hate. Failing such tolerance, there can never be, in the words of Justice William J. Brennan Jr., the robust exchange of ideas which discover truth out of a multitude of tongues. To those of you who have developed vehicles on cable channels 19 and 20, we thank you. You remind us that we should never forget how precarious, how fragile our cherished freedom of speech can be when anyone attempts to stifle the open exchange of ideas. Certainly, we can regulate for time, place, and manner, but no matter how we feel, the First Amendment does not simply protect those who we believe to be the good guys who say the right things. However, it is my hope that people like you will always use your freedom of expression wisely. I trust that you use your freedom to lead your families, friends, communities, your nation, and the world from the perspective that people should be free and should in every way be encouraged to fulfill their highest potentials and live life responsibly. Great work comes from love, and great societies come from confident, caring people who know that freedom of speech is a great gift to society. Use that gift and use it wisely. Never allow anyone to take it away from you. Yet, never allow anyone to persuade you to use it to dishonor yourself, your community, or your nation. Again, I express my sincere congratulations to the Tampa Bay Community Network and Golden Cassette Award Program nominees and winners. May you always continue to be involved in the robust exchange of ideas which discovers truth out of a multitude of tongues.